elevate the hustle.
Welcome to Elevate the Hustle, where we break down what it actually means to build teams, scale companies, and lead with intensity. I'm your host, Stanley Mayton.
I'm Don Piccirillo.
And we have a special guest here with us today, Mr. Jay Wolfberg. Let's give it up for Jay. Welcome to the show, Jay. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Thanks for being here. President of We Insure. That is a big, big title, Jay. Welcome to the show. You excited?
I'm super excited. Yeah, this is. I love having these types of conversations about business and insurance. Should be fun.
Awesome. Well, let's get right into it. Jay, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and your background. We'd love to get to know you a little bit more.
Sure. I'll give you the standard journey speech of how where I started and how I got here. So it's always interesting when you hear about people and how they got into insurance. So I'm unique. I was born into insurance. So I'm from Hartford, Connecticut, and grew up basically staring out my bedroom window at the giant Travelers Tower and Hartford Tower and Hartford Steam Boiler and all that. So my mom worked on the business analyst side of insurance, and my dad in IT growing up. And then I just vowed never to get into it. And eventually, many, many years later, I circled back and got into it. So my first role was with the Hartford, which was a lot of fun, and then eventually transitioned away from Connecticut, away from the cold, down to Florida, and got myself into We Insure.
All right. So what you vowed you would never get into insurance. What made you change that? What made you change your mind? What were you doing before? What are some jobs you had before?
What went wrong in your life, Jay, that made you get into?
It's a great question. So let's see. Part of my journey, I started and sold a property management company. That was fun. I managed a bunch of Radio Shacks. If anyone is old enough to remember what a Radio Shack is, that was I just loved the selling end of that. Let's see, I spent a winter selling Saturns. That was a car brand that doesn't exist anymore. So
Good
did
call.
that.
And
Yes. And yeah, I mean, at the time I had just had my first daughter, and it was time to maybe pick a different career path. And that's when I jumped into the Hartford, and super interesting to start your career there, because they really have this training program where you come in, you get licensed. It's like 9 weeks. It's got like a 99% pass rate with the state exam. And I jumped right into a call center role there, which, this is, I guess, I don't know, almost 20 years ago. So this one, call centers had a real phone with a cord on it. There was a headset attached. You would hit a button on the phone and take a cigarette break. It's very different than things nowadays in call centers, but learned a ton there. It was an inbound call center, so it was with the AARP. So essentially, the AARP would send out a little brochure or a flyer or an ad to everybody's nana and grandpa in the country, and said, call for a free calculator. And also you get a quote, right? Call for a free tote bag. So generating hundreds and hundreds of inbound calls every single day. And I was a 300-person call center. So really got my feet wet in insurance sales with them. I like to mention that because the Hartford, which has been around for 200 years, is never the most cost effective. And I think it's interesting in the insurance world, especially in Florida, but most of the country, where, I'm a big believer, and we teach all of our franchises this, that everybody shops on price and everybody buys on value. So I think that was really well proven with the Hartford, where it wasn't the most cost effective, and we sold, thousands and thousands of policies a month.
Jay, let's back it up. There's 300 people doing sales. This is where did you rank amongst the 300 people?
So humbly number one.
Number one.
And at the time, and I don't what's it? Yeah. So somehow my nickname there was the Samuel L. Jackson of insurance, and I don't know how that came to be. But we were little cubes, so they would put Samuel L. Jackson's character from Pulp Fiction with this big quote.
Did they give you the wallet too?
On my desk, and in the wallet, the bed. I won't say it to ruin your podcast, but the wallet. So yeah, so love that. I love the sales end of it. I loved the underwriting and the training and the licensing. Did a bunch of different things. Kind of jumped around there for a while. But yeah, that was a cool, fun start to insurance for sure.
What do you so going from there, you moved to Florida?
We were just ready for warm weather and headed down to Florida. I jumped in, still in insurance on the claims side with my first experience with a franchise called PuroClean. So PuroClean is a franchise that essentially, when there's an insurance claim, they would go out and fix the damage. So water damage, fire damage, mold damage. And my role there was to make the phone ring with those insurance claim leads, mostly from local insurance agencies, right, in the community and some national programs. So this was really, so you asked like what got me into insurance. It was going into so many of these local independent agencies, being like, this guy is he's driving an amazing car, he's golfing 3 days a week. Like, how do I get this job? This is awesome. So that was originally what attracted me to insurance, was watching the success of so many people that are now my friends, out there.
And as you're working for Pure Clean, you're seeing how these insurance agencies are thriving or happy, I guess, in working 3 days a week. What was besides like this looks like a cool thing, did you see other things where you're like, I could do this better, or like, hey, I'm a sales guy? Like what's something like that?
I don't know if it was unique to Florida at the time, coming from the Northeast, but like when I first started with PuroClean, it became very obvious that if I just showed up on time and did what we said we were going to do, I just beat out like 99% of the competition. So the bar, in my defense, was pretty low. But I think what I found was, what I didn't have a passion for is the customer service end of it, right? And what I did have a passion for is sales. And so I think what I got really good at was two things. Was one, focusing on the sales activities and letting others do the non-sales activities. And then the second piece is, and this is I think good advice for, it doesn't really matter what business you're in, is existing customer referrals is the key. And I give sometimes sales classes and presentations on this. And for me, they have to do two things. You have to ask for that referral, and you have to ask for it at the right time. So like a lot of people will say things like, oh, after I sell the policy 3 weeks later, I email them and ask them for their 5 best friends' names. And for me, none of that works. I believe super strong in this sales theory called reciprocity. So I wait for the customer to say thank you, and then the normal human response, which is you're welcome, of course. But here's what you can do for me. If you're happy with our service, your brother, your mother, your friend, your family, please send them our way. We're 100% referral based. So being able to just do that and generate more and more sales, and then taking off my plate the non-revenue generating stuff through a combination of automation, technology, and virtual assistants, really is what helped us. That I think was, for me, in hindsight, what the big difference was. I don't think I knew that, to your question, like walking in, but definitely in hindsight, looking back, like those are the things that made the biggest difference.
Is there a lot of trial and error for you when it came to that strategy? Like, did you try a bunch of things that didn't work along the way? Like, how did you figure out that was like the winning formula for you?
It was actually something I had downloaded and like burnt onto a CD at the time. And it was, I swear I know how to use technology.
Because you flip your book of CDs while you're driving.
And it was a sales class that Jordan Belfort, who's the original Wolf of Wall Street, had put together, called the Straight Line of Persuasion. And I just took bits and pieces from it. And I still kind of, when I teach people how to sell with We Insure, I use like a version of that I've kind of amended, which is, you're on this path from the beginning of the sale to the end of the sale, and there's all these ways the customer falls off that path. I don't like the price, I don't like the product, I got to ask my wife, whatever it is. And how do you get them back onto that path to the end? So that was a big piece of it. And then that sales reciprocity piece came in, and I've just done that from day one. Yeah, I've watched a lot of other people fail at different ways, for sure, and I've tried other stuff after the fact to see if it worked better, but just nothing to me is as strong as that ask.
So do you think, I think it's interesting, right? Like, are most people in insurance salespeople? Are they really good at insurance? Are they really good at people management? Because to me, and I feel like I've seen both, right? But like where some of the conversations I've had with insurance owners, like they're really great at one thing, but they might not be great at, running an agency, or maybe they're great in ops and they're not great in sales. But, are they traditionally entrepreneurs? Are they traditionally, operators, or they kind of fell into insurance and now they're just kind of trying to figure it out?
What I can say about the way what we look for in new franchises, is that entrepreneur piece, right? Like I'm a big believer that I can teach insurance. I don't think it is the most, it's not rocket science, not brain surgery. It's something that definitely can be taught. But I think the entrepreneur on the sales end is pretty important in this business, and I just think that insurance gets commoditized. So like all you see, like if you ask anybody about insurance, it's always say 15% in 15 minutes. Like people are trained on the money end of this. And what you don't realize is how important this is, especially, so it's all important, but the home one, the home policy in particular, if you ask a person, what's the most valuable thing you own? It's almost always your home, right? And I'm going to sell you this stupid piece of paper for thousands of dollars. I want to explain to you what it is. I want to tell you why I would buy exactly this policy or a different policy, or why, like, and let's customize it to your budget. And so I just think that that piece gets missed a lot. People get, complacent with it and just commoditize it themselves and just, oh, I beat your price by $5. Here it is, right? I'd rather sell you a policy that's $5 more that gets you exactly what you need, and work it that way.
Right. And you, I mean, I guess we all talk about this a lot, right? You do business with the people you like, right? So you have to earn trust, you have to provide value, right? And then you, like, at the end of the day, usually you're probably not saving money, right? There's probably a cheaper option, but you're giving somebody something that somebody else is not, right? So you're picking up the phone, your cell phone number or whatever it might be, that's the value prop, but that extra few bucks is worth it to you, right? Like you could go sign up for a gym membership, or you could go eat at, go out to dinner, but you're not going out to the cheapest restaurant. You're not going to the cheapest gym. You're finding things that are going to work specifically for you.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that for us and just like the entire we insure business model and most independent agencies are just based on choice, and like it's the mentality of like, I'll sell you the biggest piece of crap policy if that's what you want. You just let me explain to you why it's that way and what you're missing and how much you're saving, and then it's the consumer's money. It's like it's up to them what they want to buy. But that just I feel is, I've always looked at that as my job, is to just explain what they're doing, and what they're getting, and how that's going to help them or not.
We always thought of ourselves as educators, right? And our goal was to educate people on exactly what it was they were buying. And at the end of the day, it was up to them to make a decision that they felt was best. But like our goal was to never have someone come back to us and say, oh, I didn't know that there was this exclusion in there, that the wind deductible was as high as it was, or whatever those like major policy points are that, can be surprising if you don't actually read the fine print in the policy.
Yeah. Consumers, they have selective memory. So even if you do explain it, they're going to forget it anyway. But at least I can put my head on my pillow knowing I did explain it. Yeah, for sure.
That's
Yeah.
why you send them the follow-up email.
Follow up with me. Over communication.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was something I did recognize, visiting these insurance agencies, is that many of them don't communicate well, right? Many of them are not accessible. My cell phone to this day is on the bottom every email I send out, right? I'm probably too accessible, but that's just how I always operated, and just always had, whether it's a policyholder calling me, letting them know, hey, if you have a claim at 2 o'clock in the morning, like, you can text me, you can call me, and just giving them that peace of mind. And then same thing with the franchises, where the franchises have questions. And I think what separates We Insure a little bit from some of the competition is someone that's been in that seat before running the organization. So they text me and ask me underwriting questions on weekends, or, hey, I'm doing this marketing event, what do you think? And just being accessible like that, and over communicating, back and forth, I think is a huge piece of it too.
So how did you get into We Insure? You bought a franchise? Let's start there.
Yeah, so I'm out and about. I'm visiting, all of these, independent agencies, and I'm watching them live their best lives, and really just live, on residual income, and just this amazing opportunity. And I had met a couple of guys that had owned a few different insurance franchises, and I let them know, hey, I'm looking at, getting into this. And they said, oh, there's this new company, at the time, called We Insure. There's about 30 franchises. I actually flew to Jacksonville where it was based, and jumped in. I quit my job at Puro Clean. I bought the franchise and I bought my first Florida home all in the same week. And I said to my wife, "We have 45 days to make this mortgage payment." Yeah.
Wait,
So there.
I gotta pause you there because I think, I think that's the entrepreneur in you, and people are watching the show or listening to this podcast. By the way, subscribe if you haven't done so. Follow, subscribe. I'm supposed to say that. So you quit your job, you bought a house, you moved to Florida, you're buying a franchise. I mean, to me, it's like entrepreneur, 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 right? But most people hear that or see that and they're like, holy shit, right? That is the most terrifying thing I ever heard, right? What's going through your mind? Like, what's that process like?
Yeah, so it was definitely terrifying. And I think that, everyone has a different level of risk tolerance. So I think sometimes the more entrepreneurial you are, the higher that tolerance is. So I've got a pretty big tolerance to just jump in and see what the hell happens. That one, it worked out okay. I mean, what I we fast forward to 10 years later, and it's the I've got a great business partner. It's the largest franchise, the We Insure franchise. It currently sits at 32 million in premium. And what you don't hear is like the beginning struggles where like I didn't have that business partner. I had a different business partner that I don't really talk about. That we separated and went different ways. And I don't talk about the office that was above, a granite store, like a store where you'd buy granite for your kitchen. That was like very strange, and it had a bathroom with a shower in it and bugs all over the place, and it was disgusting. Like I don't
Did you get
talk
any?
about that.
Did
Yeah,
you get any referrals from the kitchen business?
I did get some kitchen business referrals. Yeah, some contractors. Yeah. It's very easy to fast forward to like the beautiful office that I left 2 years ago. That's like in a retail shopping plaza with 10 employees, and like so it's easy to skip ahead to that part, and not talk about like the grind. But really, so I just put my head down and wrote policies for 2 years. That was my commitment to myself. Was I'm not going to get distracted. It was 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the office. Come home, eat dinner, spend time with the kids. Back on the computer 9 to midnight. Until I basically was going to snap. So I just did that as long as possible. Because in insurance, it's just building. It's compounded interest. It's just building those customers over and over again.
What was your original strategy for finding customers that you didn't have when when you opened the doors?
Yeah, so I'll say that the real strategy started about a year in. I was blessed enough to find a really great business partner. He had owned a We Insure for a couple of months, and I'd been in it for a year, and I was looking for new office space. I jumped in and shared his space with him for a little while, and we decided to test out and see if that partnership would work. And the mentality there about finding our customers was really like skip ahead to step two. So step two is once we have that first customer, we need to turn them into a referral source, right? Every single policy holder into a referral source. So I don't really care where that first customer came from. We did, you name it, we did it. Networking groups and door-to-door knocking and cold calling and buying inbound internet leads. It didn't really matter. Like we just did everything we could to get that first customer with the goal of treating that customer right and then asking them for a referral. So maybe that's a backwards way to market. I don't know. I don't look at myself as a marketing guy, but it seemed to have worked well.
And when it came to the business partner, like what made you think that he was the right person, that the partnership was going to work? Like how did you guys divvy up roles? What was the thought process behind
Yeah.
finding a partner?
So funny enough, he's the sales guy, right? And he came from a cold calling world. And I at the time was like super into, and I still am because I just love it. Like the quoting, underwriting, end of it. I just really enjoy like solving that puzzle. That's like, here's my current policy, and what can I find you that is in some way better that we can then sell you, right? Whether it's a better price, a better product, both. So I just love solving those puzzles. And he did not. So it worked out really well with him, mostly on the phones with these customers for the first 2 years. And me very much behind the scenes, like putting these quotes together, the applications together.
So fast forward to you're the number one agency in We Insure, if I'm not mistaken. Top three, first one,
Top one. Yeah,
top
first
one.
one. Yeah.
And how does one go from being, entrepreneur, hustler to president of We Insure, corporate job?
Yeah, kicking and screaming mostly, is how is how that works. So, yeah, we Insure got bought out, about 2 years before I took over, by a large organization called Peak Six. Just a great group of people that were getting into insurance in a couple of entities, with the interest of disrupting the business, right? So really love that idea, love the technology end of it. And it was like not really going that great. And we don't shy away from those errors and those mistakes that were made. The people that were brought in, some of them were a good fit, some were not. And you kind of fast forward 2 years after they bought it, where they didn't really have this president role. They hadn't had it for a while, and they put out a note saying, hey, we're looking at bringing in someone for this role. And then depending who you ask, either I volunteered or they asked me, to jump in and join. And the more we talked, the more we realized, this was definitely the best thing for We Insure. So I took over, so I guess about 2.5 years ago. We spent the first year just really re-solidifying the trust with our franchises, with our carrier partners, and then jumping in and getting ready for 25 and 26 for some pretty heavy growth where we sit today.
So what is, what's that mindset like, bringing those entrepreneurial chops into corporate? Um, entrepreneurs are like, this is easy. You could do this. Anybody could do this. We got to move fast. We got to go super fast. Like, how do you push and pull? How do you manage that? Like, what are some things that, you wish could be easier, and what are some things that are amazing?
Yeah, so I think for a company our size, we move very fast, and I think for a guy like me, that's still very slow, right? Like even though, like comparatively speaking, I'm sure I'm confident it's very fast. It's just not fast enough for me. So that is constantly a struggle. What I try to keep my eye on the prize is that this is a franchise organization, so something like 98% of our revenue comes from when a franchise sells a policy. That's my entire purpose in life, is to help people become franchises and help those franchises sell policies. So I'm super passionate because I look back on what I did here for 10 years and be like, I'm not the most tech savvy. I'm not the best sales guy. I'm not the best tech, but like I did it. I followed the business model. I worked really hard. And I just am really passionate about finding other people that want to do that and that are willing to just put their head down and grind. I tell people, like, give me a couple years of this grind and it will change your life, right? This residual income, and we can talk more about the passive end of it, because I think that's what all of the service work that We Insure does creates, this like close to passive environment for the income as well.
What's the biggest thing you look for when you're signing up a potential franchisee in terms of like character traits or personality, or like, when you're sitting in front of someone trying to determine whether or not they're going to be a good fit for the We Insure model, like what are you looking for?
Yeah, so I think a lot of this is, just personality, right? And do you have that? Yeah, you can talk to people and hold a conversation. So that's like the first test we do, and then a lot of it, appropriately enough, is hustle, right? And just people that just really are not interested in a 9 to 5. They're not interested in sitting around and waiting for the phone to ring. And they're asking a lot of what I judge people on is the questions they're asking, and if they're asking these good questions, like, hey, what does your day look like? What did your day look like as a franchise? And how did you find, like what you guys are asking? How did you find those first customers? And what can you do to grow and scale the business? And think the people that are thinking like a couple of steps ahead, like once I'm really good at this, how do I hire 5 more people like me? And like all of that. We try to look for. I'm not, again, like we definitely take franchise with insurance experience. That's totally fine. But that's not like, the piece that matters the most to me. There's a bunch there that I think is important.
So you talked about a little bit about service work, and I guess getting to your sales pitch a little bit, right? Anybody could say, "Oh, I'm going to start my own independent insurance agency," right? I'm assuming you guys give them the obviously the carrier connections and things of that to actually write the business. But something that you said resonated with me, right? Where you're like, you don't want to do the service work, right? You want to go out there and grind, sell, and we take care of the rest. Give us little insights into what does that actually mean and what does that look like?
Yeah, so I think so the service work end of it, and I think what's been an interesting journey is watching. We've had a couple of real good wins where we were able to reduce the cost to serve enough that we were able to refund fees back to franchises, right? So the more cost effective we get, the more opportunity there is for us to make money and for our franchises to make more money. So on the service end, I always did things a little uniquely. And so the story I tell about it is before I bought the We Insure franchise, I went and talked to a friend of mine, and he owned a big agency. So now it's probably a almost $100 million independent agency that they own. And I said, why would you not do this? Right? Tell me why you would not buy the franchise, whether it's a We Insure, any of our competition. And his mentality was if you don't do the service work, you miss out on the opportunity to cross sell and ask for referrals, right? So when a customer's calling in for the service work throughout the year, you're missing an opportunity. And so I really took that to heart, right? And I really said, I don't want to lose that connection with my customers. So I never really, for the most part, let them know there was this giant back end service center. I would always encourage them to call me. So the conversations are they would call in and say, hey, my home insurance price went up. I'd like to reduce the premium. What happens if we change the deductible, the regular deductible, the AOP deductible, the wind deductible, if we remove this endorsement, if we add this endorsement, they give me a big list of 10 annoying things to do. And I would say, no problem, let me find out. And then I would just ping our service team. And now it's through chat or through an email or through, you can call in. And I would give them this terrible list of things to go find out for the insured. And then they would go do that. And I go back to selling. And then an hour later, I get this terrible list of all the things we can do to reduce that premium and change. And it took an hour to call and wait on hold with the company and do. And this is all the stuff that our team is doing. And then I call the customer back. Hey, Mrs. Smith, we can do this, this, and this. Man, that was crazy. I was on hold for so long. I'm glad we could help you with this. By the way, I see we have your home, but not your auto, right? Can we talk about that? So I just use the service as the right way. And I think what's so interesting is now, so as we progress down this path from licensed service rep to virtual assistant to also a robot, like it's almost like our service team has their own service team now, right? With these virtual assistants, which is really neat. So like for me, you've got this first layer of defense, which is the licensed insurance rep, right? They sit stateside, they are licensed in whatever states they're operating in, and there's very specific service tasks that they have to do, right? You can't get around it. It's required by law. They're the ones that can explain the coverage. They can talk about it. And then you've got this next layer, which is these virtual assistants, which we utilize. And you guys are one of, obviously, we'll give you a shout out here, one of our great partners on that. And this is like where the meat and potatoes is. This is like the majority of what gets done doesn't need to be licensed and is too complex for a bot to do, right? So it sits like right in the middle, and that's kind of the sweet spot. So I think it's one of those things that our franchises feel very comfortable with it. And, I do remind them, like, nobody's perfect, right? We make mistakes. Our virtual assistant makes mistakes. The tech makes mistakes. Like, it does happen, just like in your office. If you had a service person there, they would make mistakes too, right? It does happen. I make mistakes. It does happen in this world.
You make mistakes, Jay? I don't believe it.
Yeah, one a year. I haven't hit it yet, so I got 2 more
Dan
weeks
doesn't
left.
make
Yeah.
any mistakes.
I've never made a mistake in my life.
Perfect. So I just think that like giving our franchises that assurance and showing them, like, when we save money, we give money back. When we provide, when our retention goes up 4% in a year, like all of these things that happen as a result of the service teams we're putting together, real and virtual, and technology too. Can't forget that. I think you just get this heavy lift that allows our franchises to focus on what they do best, which is find customers and sell policies.
So what you talked about a little bit before about big plans for growth 25, 26. What does that look like? What are some things that, you guys are looking to achieve? If somebody wants to buy a franchise, why should they come to you? But more importantly, as a leader, what are some things you hope you get to accomplish as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I definitely hope people come to us for franchises, but I also hope they go to our competition. Some of the best franchises that we've sold have been people that have talked to all the competition that then choose us, right? So I do appreciate those conversations, probably a little bit more than someone that's just coming directly to us and not even shopping it around. So I definitely appreciate that. For us, the focus is really on two things. So it's how do we grow our franchise footprint, right? So we've identified for 26 about 17 different states that we think are prime for growth, that we're looking to really double down our growth and investment in new franchises in. And then, of course, to support our existing franchises. So we've got a ton of tools and resources around supporting our existing franchises and making sure they have the resources they need to sell and be successful. And to take that feedback from them every day and say, wow, if we did this different, they would get an hour back of their life, and they could then sell another policy. So it's all about the franchise and the existing growth, and of course the new ones as well.
And we decide to have a follow-up interview. It's December 15th, 2026, a year later, right? What's the biggest accomplishment you made yourself to the business?
Yeah, so I would love to see our franchise footprint significantly increased, but I also don't want to forget about our people, right? We just have this amazing. We have 135-ish people that work directly for us, not counting any virtual or anyone else. And there's so much opportunity for them to become more and more successful here. So I just love watching those people grow. We had a couple of big promotions in December for people that were in maybe more of a support role that we turned into a sales role, and they're getting excited for that. So I just love seeing the organization and the people in it be successful. That's where I get the most pride. And whether that's our corporate team or our franchises, I just want to hear those stories and see what those look like a year.
I love that. All right. So now we get to the fun part before we wrap up. We have a segment called Rapid Fire, where we ask you a bunch of personal questions and get to know you a little bit better. So we're just going to go ahead and shoot those questions at you. Rapid fire. What comes to mind first? And if there's an interesting story there, we might pause and ask that. What is best business book you've ever read?
Best business book I've ever read is I'm going to butcher the name of it, but it's the Manager Meets the Monkey or whatever it is, and getting that monkey off your back. It's that book for sure. Yeah, that one I give out to people. That and the 1 Minute Manager. Those two.
What's always in your fridge?
Always in my fridge. Ooh. I'm just, this is very psychological. I'm just going to say mustard because it is always in my fridge. Yeah, that is just something, I don't know. It's always there.
It's like Grey Poupon, or are you like a Golden's spicy?
No, it's the spicy. Yeah, it's the golden spicy.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like a
spicy
lot of
brown.
mustard too. I probably have like 5 different mustards. I have
Yeah.
big variety. We heard you're a chef. What's your signature dish?
Ooh. I have a lot, so it's really hard to pick one. My wings are pretty top notch. I do the buffalo sauce from scratch, the blue cheese from scratch. I do like a 24-hour brine, and then I grill them. Yeah. So wings might be it.
Oh, you got to invite us over for
I was
something.
going to say, when are we coming over?
Anytime.
You got to give them 24-hour notice.
Yeah, we'll make it work. Yeah.
What's one skill you wish you learned earlier?
I actually wish I had learned to golf well earlier. I didn't golf in my life until I moved to Florida, and I feel like my business career could have been different if I had engaged and learned to golf at a much earlier age, which is crazy because my dad is like an amazing golfer and would always take me with him, and I just would never got into it until I feel like I was in Florida and I had to get into it to meet people and be successful in business. So
How's
that
the
and
game?
and juggling. Yeah. Juggling. I'm not very good at golf, but what I did learn very quickly is if you know the etiquette and you dress the part and you're not, losing every single ball, you're pretty much okay. I do prefer a scramble because then it doesn't always rely on me, right? So that is nice.
You got to move fast. That's the rule when Dom and I play with newbies. You got to keep it moving. Pick up that ball when you have to, and
yeah,
you're good. You're good.
If you can play in 4 hours, you're good. I don't care if you shoot 150.
Very true.
What's the worst job you ever had?
Ooh, I don't know that I've ever had a job that is really terrible. One of my least favorites was a summer where I worked at a used car dealership and mechanic type shop, and all I did was wash cars and shuttle cars back and forth to the DMV. It was the least exciting. I actually enjoyed busboy at Macaroni Grill more than that job. Yeah.
You know what? Every single job teaches you some sort of, some sort of character development
Yeah.
for you to get better.
Yeah.
What's one thing every agency owner should be doing right now?
Ooh. So I would say one thing they should be doing is focus, if they're successful, is focusing on ways to replicate themselves. So, like, what can you do to create the next version of you? And some of my proudest moments were like hiring a producer and having that person be super, super successful. So I would say figure out, what you're doing well and how can you get other people to do that.
And the last question for you, what is the most used app on your phone?
Ooh. So the most used app, it's probably Spotify, followed by the one that turns on my sauna with a button. Yeah, that one I use quite a bit.
How many days a week you got the sauna going, Jay?
7. Yeah,
Seven.
I'm in that thing almost every morning. Yeah,
How
yeah.
hot?
How
How
hot?
hot
How
is
many
it?
degrees?
So 100, no, it's not too crazy. 100 it's 155-ish, and then pour the water and it spikes up a little bit. But I mean, it's hot. It gets you sweating. Yeah.
For sure.
20 minutes?
Yeah, if I sometimes I've been now recently experimenting with 10 in the morning and 10 at night before bed. See if I get a better night's sleep. But the
Yeah,
third most used app is my Aura ring. So, to see.
Yeah. Everybody that gets older, like now it's like every way you got to hack your life. I was with a group of entrepreneurs this week and everyone talked about was their Aura ring and like, how can I get more sleep? When you're
Yeah.
younger, you're like, how can I just function on the least amount of sleep possible?
But it's full circle. Yeah, definitely full circle.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate you taking time to join us. This was a fun show. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you, if they want to learn more about We Insure, send them to the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like one of the comments I made, super accessible. So my contact information, just JAY at weinsuregroup.com. And then you can, of course, go to weinsuregroup.com and check that out as well. I'm happy to chat with anyone interested in looking for a new role or looking to become an entrepreneur or is an existing entrepreneur looking to add a business to their portfolio. Plenty of opportunity out there.
And I will say I've got to know Jay over the last year plus, and he is a really genuine and good dude. So if you're looking to open up an agency, this is the guy you want to definitely be in the same. I was gonna say in the same bed with, but I guess in the same house with.
Always looking for good roommates. Yeah.
Always looking
We,
for.
but I appreciate that. This is a lot of fun for me. So thank you guys for the opportunity to come on. I appreciate both you and the partnership, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thanks so much, guys. We hope you guys
Thanks for
enjoyed the
coming on.
show. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see everybody soon. Thanks, everybody.